I'd like to thank everyone for being here and welcome to Hypnosis Experts Live. And with us today, we're going to go ahead and go around the room and tell who you are and where you are, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So we have, let's see, Elynne, why don't you go first?
Good morning, everyone. Elynne Jacobson, Las Vegas, Nevada. And I hope you're having as great a morning as I am. The weather is gorgeous here. Absolutely beautiful. So what else do you want me to say at this point other than hello again?
That's it for now. Anthony, tell about you.
Hey, everybody. Good morning. Anthony Reed here from Brain Spanking You Hypnosis. I do hypnosis on YouTube, and check me there. Yeah, happy to be here, guys. Nice Thursday morning.
Welcome, Anthony. And we have Raluca.
Hi, everyone. This is Raluca. It's Thursday? Oh, my gosh.
Oh, okay. And I'm Rene. And yes, it's Thursday. We seem to have one of those every week. You notice that?
Every week, yeah.
Every week. And it comes right at about the same time, too, you know? But anyway, today we are going to speak about hypnosis. And all of us came to hypnosis for different reasons, and a lot of us do different things. We have our own specialty. It's great that hypnosis there's so many areas you can get into. It's one of the few things that you can stay with and not get bored. I've been doing it for over 20 years, and I might do metaphysics for a year or two, then I might push the clinical. I did comedy. There's so many different things to do to keep your interest. But what I want to talk about today is why each one of us came to hypnosis, what interested you, why you came to this field. And so besides what drew you to it, I guess what you find really exciting about it and, how it affected your life. So I'm going to start with, Anthony, you seem to be full screen there, so I'm going to start with you. How's that sound?
I hope you guys can hear me okay.
I can hear you perfectly.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, good.
You can't get out of it that way.
I was trying, right?
Yeah.
No, anyway, I started on this journey actually maybe about 5 years ago when I had health issues and got into being a health coach. It's an interesting job being a health coach, and all your clients come in at different places, and it seemed to me after a while of working with people that the main issue that they're having is mostly mental. And so you can try to change diet and whatever, but it's not like I can change. They've got to do that change, and often their brain is telling them you're not going to do that, even though they want to do that, or they think that they want to do that. But there's always a mental aspect to it. So I started, delving into things like NLP, which brought me to hypnosis as another way to help people get out of their own way and to get going on the path that they wanted to. So that's how I got into this game. I love it so far. So I haven't delved into comedy hypnosis. That would be kind of interesting, but mainly I do stuff online and recordings. But when the little that I have worked with clients on that, it's really, really made a huge difference.
Okay, now I'm going to pick on you here.
All right.
You said you got into NLP, then get into hypnosis. You and I have spoken about that before. That's kind of like putting the cart before the horse. So, because NLP is an offshoot or a part of hypnosis. So,
yeah.
Explain, in your words, what you think the difference is and why you went at it that way.
Well, NLP is I would think of hypnosis as being a method to get more direct access to the subconscious, whereas I would see NLP as being a method that you that it does help to use them both together. It helps. It's a lot more effective, I believe. But either of them can be used separate. So NLP, you don't have to be in a hypnotic state to use. And it can have certain, but if the person that you're working with is very analytical, it's not gonna help a whole lot, because they're constantly thinking, I don't know, this might work, maybe it's not gonna work, which is what hypnosis makes go away, so that you can actually work on that change. That's my take anyway. But I don't know. What's yours?
You like how I put you on the spot there, huh?
Deflecting. I'm deflecting.
He's using NLP on me now. Yeah, and that's exactly, NLP is conversational hypnosis, where it's, everything, all of it is hypnosis, but I can be speaking to you right now and delivering suggestions. Give me your wallet. But anyway, give me a wallet. Anyways, did I say give me a wallet?
Just repeat it a few more times, then it'll stick.
You might want to check. It's not there.
You're right. I never put it in the
How did I get it here, right? But it's more, like you said, waking hypnosis, conversational hypnosis. You can give suggestions to people, like you said, especially if they're analytical, or not so much analytical, but resistant to hypnosis. Some people anyone can be hypnotized, but a lot of people will resist it. And, they think you're doing something to them, so they fight it. So with NLP, you can do it just speaking to them. And I just learned a different form of NLP recently, where they speak to you almost opposite, telling you to do the opposite of what you think you're supposed to do. I think it was Milton Erickson who was talking about, he was doing weight loss on someone. The woman came in, she says, I want to lose like 35 pounds. And he says, let's say she weighed 150 this week. And he said, okay, I want you to go home. She was really, really resistant. He goes, this week I want you to go home, he says, and I want you to gain 3 pounds. He says, come back next week, he says, and I want you to be 153. And she goes, okay. So she went home and she did it. She came back, she was a little frustrated. She goes, no, I want to lose my weight. He goes, yeah, but I want you to gain 4 more pounds this week. And so she went home and she gained 4 more pounds. Then she came back the following week and she says, I'm tired of this. I want to lose weight. Can you see the frustration? And he says, well, you already proved that you can gain 7 pounds. Now let's see how quickly you can lose. And she was able to lose without resistance. Yeah. So NLP, with this conversation, there's so many different ways of doing it. But I thought that was, Milton Erickson was a character anyways. I mean, he was known to be extremely controversial. And some of his, we just finished creating a course on him. And of course, when you create a course, you learn 10 times more than what you actually put in there. Because a lot of the things we learned that he used to do was like, oh my word, I can't put that in there. People are going to think he was nuts. And most of his peers did, psychiatrists, psychologists, because he was a psychiatrist as well.
He's definitely an outside-the-box thinker and performer, that's for sure.
That's it.
Well, the one thing about NLP that I find fascinating, this is the thing that kind of brought me into it to go, how did they figure that out, was when is the whole thing with submodalities. That's, with the visual, kinesthetic, and such, with those are the modalities, sorry. About, when you remember something, are you smelling it? Are you hearing it? Are you seeing it? Do you have feelings about it? And then manipulating those. It's like manipulating code in a computer to manipulate, what you believe about something, or how you see something, or to make it so that you don't like cake because now you see it over here in the left hand bottom corner of your vision, where you used to see cake up here and it was like, oh, that's wonderful, and now you see it in the place where you see like moldy cheese. And all of a sudden you don't like cake anymore. I mean, that's
you had to use moldy cheese.
That's like magic to me. To me. So then, I was all in on that, and then I'm all in on hypnosis. So
great. Well, thank you. Give me your wallet.
Sure.
Anyway, okay. Elynne, your turn. what brought you
Oh,
to this madness?
Rene, I want to tell you,
Oops.
your sound
Hold on one
is
second.
really hollow. If you want to check your setting.
for whom?
Uh,
Me?
No, Elynne, yours is great. Rings.
Okay, check my settings while you guys are chatting. How's that? Does this sound any better, by the way? My mic was only halfway plugged in, it looked like.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, yeah, the mic wasn't all the way in. I'm not used to these headsets, you know. I have to go, a cappella, but
Well, you'll learn. Or
I
maybe
know.
we'll have Raluca do some hypnosis on you so you can handle it.
She was in the other room. When she's not watching me every step of the way, I mean, she just can't leave me alone for a second,
Yeah, but I think you need a full-scale session, and I think she's the one to do it. My
Yeah.
journey has been a long, long journey. I was hypnotized many, many years ago, and it was very strange, but I thought, wow, how did that happen? Because I was in the audience and fell right off my chair. I went off really fast and didn't realize it. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. I wasn't too thrilled, but it was cool. And it was a fun experience, and I let it go for many, many years. I lived in Florida, and an opportunity presented itself to take a course in hypnosis. And at that time, I couldn't do it. And I thought, darn, this would be a lot of fun, or so I thought. Anyway, I did graduate from grad school as a counselor and studied rehabilitation, working with people with disabilities, physical disabilities. And at that point, I lived in Chicago for many years. And I enjoyed working there, working with they were workers' comp cases. So you could only do so much, but it was a fun experience. I moved to Las Vegas 12 and a half years ago. And in Las Vegas, all that was available in rehabilitation was working with people with mental challenges. And while I made a lot of progress with some of my clients, I just wasn't happy because I saw it as a dead end. Because you can only take someone with a mental challenge, with a severe diagnosis, just so far. And I wasn't getting anywhere with them. And I was having breakfast with some friends, and one said to me, well, what would you really want to do? And I said, I really wanted to be a hypnotherapist. And they all started to laugh, and I thought, well, that's not so cool. But the laughing was because one of them was a hypnotherapy teacher and also a student of yours. So I flew up to Chicago. No, it's true.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
Yes, we are, aren't we? So 11 and a half years ago, I flew up to Chicago and took the training and have never looked back since that point. I love it. I specialize in almost everything that you can think of. My biggest thing is stress management, weight release, and also stop smoking. I have a great success record with each of those. I like doing groups, and I'm going to be moving into doing more and more groups. And as you both, or all three of you know, I am studying to be a trainer because I want other people to have the great experience of being hypnotherapists. My work has been in the past always one-on-one or with a group. I'm not great at doing internet kind of stuff. That's not my forte. I like personal touch, face to face. I did take a course in NLP afterwards, only to find out that I was doing it already in hypnosis and didn't even know it, or didn't have a tag to what I was doing. It just didn't make a lot of sense. And I just stood there kind of dumbfounded, and I thought, well, this is real nice, but how does this relate to me? Isn't this what I'm already doing? And so I kind of laughed at that and walked out of the course and never looked back on that. Right now I'm making a lot of changes in my life, which is so exciting. Again, wanting to teach and show other people the joy of helping people get over the blocks that have stopped them from reaching their goals, whether it be stress management, going to school, test taking. It doesn't matter, because if you are ready and willing, you're going to move forward. And that's the joy for me. I love what I do. I really, really do. It has been the joy of my life for the past 11 years. And now to be able to teach and to do groups and do more and more groups, I just think that's more exciting. And that's what I'm looking forward to moving forward to doing. And I don't know, I can't say much more other than it brings me great amount of happiness. And the other part is, which I always find funny, when I'm doing hypnosis, I get so much out of it. I become so relaxed and so in tune with the client, and it's a great feeling. And I spend a lot of time before I put them under, getting to know them, giving them a sense of security and trust. And I've only had one person in 11 years jump out of the chair and run out of the room, because obviously I hit on something. I was so dumbfounded, but that was a long time ago. And he never returned. Yes, he never returned. And his partner, who was sitting there, relaxed as all heck, said, well, you obviously got to him. I went, okay. Good thing for the partner, I got paid.
I was going to say, he paid you first, right?
No, actually, he didn't. His partner did. So I was very grateful and learned my lesson about payment.
You learned that when they sit down, you use duct tape, right?
Yes.
Or lock the door.
Oh, and they can't get out of the room at all. Right to the chair. I thank you an awful lot. This program is so progressive. I've seen some of the other hypnotists and some of the work they do, and it just doesn't have the same touchy-feely for me. And I did sit through a program with Dr. Brian Weiss, who's very famous for past life regression. And he uses some of the same techniques. I sat there laughing. It was like I could repeat with him as he's putting everybody under, and I'm going, oh, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be going under too. But it is, he uses the same scripting, the same words.
Yeah.
And I told him afterwards, I don't know, was he a client of yours?
Well, a lot of his people were.
Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting what you say about how you ran out of the NLP class, okay? I apologize for that. That's partially my fault, okay? In most hypnosis schools, that's what they teach is just a strict basic hypnosis. But one of the reasons why we put, the school together is because we felt so much was missing. Also, people tried to make things so difficult. When I took my training, it was a lot of confusion. It was a lot of, you're not supposed to do this, do that. So we wanted to simplify it. When I first started writing books, I wrote for the, who was it? There's a company out of Massachusetts, and the Everything Company. And I wrote the Everything Self-Hypnosis book. And when they contracted me, they told me, they said, we want you to write to an 8th grade level. And because that's what, if you put words that are too big and all that, you're going to lose people. So, and I make the courses the same way. But a lot of people say, do you teach NLP? Well, our courses have a lot of NLP in it. We just don't like to label this is NLP, this is advanced, this is medium, that's why we call it a basic and advanced course, but it has an awful lot of NLP mixed up because NLP is hypnosis. It's just that, Bandler and Grinder, took it apart and made it its separate thing. But before then it wasn't, you see what I mean? So we teach a lot of it, and people are kind of surprised how much NLP there is. Especially when they take a course, they go, oh, I knew that. Oh, I knew that. Oh, I knew that.
Well, my impression, and I don't know if it's correct or not, when I did take the NLP class or sessions, couple days, whatever it was, I felt that NLP was really targeting the conscious mind, where hypnosis with NLP hits subconscious and sometimes a little lower. And so I felt like there was more power using it in a hypnotic state. Mm-hmm. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I did see it as on a conscious level. And
I think it goes through the conscious. But it kind of does it in a way where it bypasses that in a sneaky way and hits the subconscious. Because you're thinking of things when you're thinking in metaphor, when you're looking at the pictures and the sounds that get produced and all that, your conscious mind is like, yeah, I see this stuff, but it's not actually like getting the brunt of the lessons. The lessons are kind of going past that conscious and hitting them right in the subconscious, and they're just using their subconscious mind, or their conscious mind, to manipulate that in different ways. And so it's just kind of like a guided way of getting through the conscious to the subconscious.
Yeah, you're bypassing the critical thinking. Yeah.
Right. Got it.
If you looked at my, the brainwave scale that I have, the brainwave chart that we give for free on our webpage, and there's like a big circle showing the different brainwaves, Right now we're in beta, and if you look at the circle going on one side, when your brainwaves slow down, you go into alpha, which is the hypnotic state. Then you go into theta, which is where children are all the time, the really hypnotic. Then you go into the delta. But hypnosis basically goes all the way around. When you go on the other side, from beta, you go into hyper beta, then you go into gamma, and you go into absolute, so all the really fast ones, that's where you can still hypnotize people. Actually, you can hypnotize people easier, but we don't teach them. Most people don't teach that in the schools. They teach you just to relax.
Like a Tony Robbins style.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When your mind is so busy, you have a hard time doing two things at once. So when your mind is that way, you're open to suggestion. You can slip by. It's kind of like when you're doing your taxes and you're sitting there writing, and your kid comes in and says, "Dad, can I borrow the car keys to go wrap the car around the telephone pole?" And you go, "Uh-huh." And then 10 minutes later, "What did I say? Come back here." You know what I mean? Because it went right into the subconscious mind. And that's the whole, the critical thinking, or we call it the analytical approach. Keep your mind busy, because we do that in hypnosis too, as you know. By testing people with suggestibility tests, you find out if they're easy to relax or not. So if they're not, you can use NLP and just use conversational hypnosis, or you can still do a hypnosis session, but what we call the confusion technique or the analytical technique. It's the same thing, but with their eyes closed. So honestly, eyes closed, eyes open don't make a difference. Unfortunately, traditional hypnosis lets us think that, it has to be sitting down and it has to be a half an hour with all these steps. But really, if you give somebody suggestions on their eyes closed, the majority of the people are going to accept them. So it's It's funny, this week I had another person say, type to me an email, I can't be hypnotized.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone that can understand the language can be hypnotized. Every single one of the habits you have basically were, formed through repetition, through hypnosis. And look at children. They're in the theta brainwave state, which is the hypnotic state right up until age 8. And that's how they learn all their habits. So, and then after that, we have to use repetition or regular, I guess you could say, the proper hypnosis, So we're hypnotized all our lives from little to now. That's how you get, you develop your habits. But anyways, I'm not teaching a lesson here. Let me stop. Cool. Raluca. I'm getting on my soapbox here and getting carried away. Tell us how you got into this, Raluca.
Well, wow. My story is so short and small compared to all of you guys. I got into hypnosis when I came here into the United States because I didn't really know what to do. So Rene was teaching at the time, and I was like, let me just take the class, see what's the stuff all about. Sounded interesting, and that's how I became a hypnotherapist. I was in the music field prior to the hypnosis and all of this stuff. So, but I always had an interest in the mind, and I remember in high school, there was 1 hour of psychology optional, and I took it because I was always fascinated by it. I think it was me and another girl in the whole class. People in that, it was a specialty school that I went to, so they weren't really interested in, it was more a lot of music, a lot of history of music. It was a school based on music, a specialty high school. So, but I took that one class, and when I was starting to take the hypnosis training, I was like, oh, this sounds just like those classes that I took in high school. That's interesting. So Rene taught me how to do hypnosis, and that's how I got into it. And after that, I started to do, my first session was for quit smoking. And I hypnotized the lady in one session, and she quit. And I was stunned. I was like, what? Let's do another one. Let's see how that one goes. Because I was shocked. I didn't really know a lot. Like, the knowledge that I have right now was clearly more ample than back then when I was, 21 or 22? And I was fascinated. I was like, let's do another one and another one because it was so successful. I didn't ever hear about things like that. So the bug was in. I was hooked. And here I am now.
And I've been hypnotizing her ever since. I'm 25 and handsome.
Yeah. That's how he got me.
You were asking how I got Raluca? I'm handsome.
How did you get into hypnosis?
Read a book. No, actually, funny story. Okay, started probably about 25 years ago. I knew nothing about hypnosis. Didn't know any hypnotists, and actually hadn't even really paid attention to the word. At the time, I was an entertainer. I worked at a theme park over here. I was in charge of all their entertainment, and at the time, I did most of the entertainment myself. It was kind of like the more I did, the more they paid me, then I had to pay everybody else. So I was a comedy magician and a magical clown. Can you believe me being a clown? I know you couldn't imagine.
Oh, no. No.
I still make faces once in a while.
You got me to be a clown, too. We were clowns together.
Yeah, we'll show you the pictures sometime. But anyways, we did this at a theme park, and I had a friend that owned a vacuum cleaner store, and one day I went over, we were talking to him, and he mentioned something about hypnosis, and I go, what's hypnosis? He says, oh, you never heard of comedy hypnosis? And I says, no. He says, well, my mechanic out in the back, the guy that repairs the vacuums, was a comedy hypnotist for a lot of years. He says, go back there and speak to him. So this is my first inkling about hypnosis. So I went back, spoke to the guy, and he was being really kind of standoffish, and you don't want to know about that, and it's mysterious, and it's scary. And he made it sound like some kind of taboo, and it's dangerous and all that.
So then you really wanted to do it.
Oh yeah, so you know me. You don't tell me.
You don't tell him not to do something. Yeah.
Just because people told me I couldn't do it, you know. So
you got Ericksonian on you.
Yeah. So anyways, he pretty much wouldn't give me anything. He was, I mean, God rest his soul right now, but he was a jerk, okay? He just wouldn't tell me nothing. So anyways, I walked out of the place, went home, got online, started looking into it. Within about 3 weeks, I was in a course, taking a course in New Hampshire, and graduated from the course, and within 3 months, I had 3 offices in 3 different cities. So, I mean, I was a go-getter at the time. I was a single dad raising 4 girls myself. So I didn't have time to play around. I wanted to add this with my entertainment, and eventually the entertainment faded out. So at this theme park, of course, I was doing other gigs besides, but the theme park was my biggest client. Every weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I did 2 comedy shows on Friday, 2 on Saturday, and 1 on Sunday. So I was able to add that to my repertoire, and I found people loved it. It was the biggest call in the park. I was getting more people in the audience than the bands were, which was kind of cool. But the thing is, when I went into the school, because I wanted to learn comedy hypnosis, something I can add, to my repertoire. But when I got into the class, I was really excited about what you can do with clinical hypnosis. I never really considered healing people and helping people. And it's funny because in the class, there was about 12 of us. There was a doctor in the class from here in Biddeford. And when he heard that I wanted to do comedy hypnosis, he immediately said, you're bad, you're going to pervert this. And he didn't like me at all because of that. He just wanted clinical. By the time we got out of the class, I got into clinical, and I kind of really backed off on the entertainment, and he got into comedy.
Oh, that's
awesome. My second day of class, that evening, I hypnotized my neighbor to quit smoking. And I remember I came back the third day of class and told him, I hypnotized somebody for smoking. And the teacher says, we're not teaching that till tomorrow. But I read ahead in the book, okay? That's how excited I was to do it, and it was a paid client, so, of course, I learned a long time ago, you don't do anything for free. If you do a session for nothing, the client looks at it as if it's worth nothing. So the more value you give it, the better the results are going to be.
Yes.
And you're going to have a whole different clientele, and the more you charge, you'll even get tips. But that's another whole story. So anyways, that's what happened. I went through the class, graduated, started a school. I actually started training out of my home. I had a house right across the street from a college, and it used to be the dean's house. So it was like half office, half house already. So that made it, really good for that. Then I split an office with a allergist, and he had an office on Main Street in another city, and another one he had it in a medical park. So I was able to, basically get an office in his, big group of offices. So that was nice. Then we kept doing that, I kept doing that for about maybe 6 months. And a pharmacy downtown next to the city where I live went out of business. And I rented the pharmacy. And that's where things really took off, because I was right on Main Street. I had these huge signs, back then it was Southern Maine Hypnosis. And all my advertising was on the signs. We did metaphysics and, clinical and all kinds of things. And that's pretty much when I started the school. So,
and in the back office, it was Raluca's pianos and singing.
Yeah, we had this big, long office. Right by the front door was a metaphysical store I had, a little open by appointments only. And then we had the hypnosis office. And then you go through another door, there was a big section where we had the school. And then I had built a soundproof room with all the egg crate material on the walls and everything. And it was Raluca's song and piano. And she was teaching voice lessons and piano lessons. That was kind of neat. Because when she was teaching people, I I used to be able to get up, the window and make faces because I had like a glass window on the other side. She's trying to teach not making faces. That
You're
good
so
old days.
bad. You're so bad.
We eventually turned that little room into a hypnosis office with a recliner in there because I thought when I first started out, again, everybody starts out differently. I thought you had to have absolute quiet for hypnosis. So we were in the soundproof room. I mean, you could hear a needle drop. It was that quiet in there. And it was kind of weird because, if you weren't using music and you were doing hypnosis, you could hear yourself breathing and you were hoping that you didn't have gas and you could hear gurgles or whatever. It was pretty bad. But the nice thing about that is, sometimes when you have a husband and wife come in together and they want to sit in the same room, I tell the husband, no, you have to, be out there, but you can watch in the window. So he'd be watching me do a hypnosis session. And, of course, they'd stand there just like this in the window. I'd make faces at him and stuff, and he'd walk away. But so that's how we got into it. And I eventually kind of phased out the entertainment and did just hypnosis full time. And that's when I started the school. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Oh, gosh. There's Renzo and Dorothy.
Oh, look at that.
Can't see it. She's not on center screen.
Luke, you're going to have to talk to be on center screen, Luke.
Yep, this is us at the Fun Town.
Oh, my goodness. So cute.
Yeah.
And that's why she married me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep you off the street.
Well, actually, okay, I think it was because of what I offered her. I came up to her and I said, I have a 3-carat ring for you. Now, remember, I was a clown.
Yeah, that's what he proposed with.
That's what I proposed with. I pulled out this ring that had 3 big orange carats coming out of it.
I'd have killed you.
And then he says,
So
okay,
let's see the
seriously.
What's that?
So let's see the ring. Let's see the ring.
Oh, if you don't know, that kind of got eaten a long time ago. I mean, went by a long time ago.
He says, oh, seriously, I really have a diamond ring for you. And it was a dime stuck to a,
The setting had a dime in it. It was dime in ring.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
You had
so
to be in
bad.
the mood.
Yeah, you better.
Yeah.
You're
Hey, it
lucky
costs
she
more.
said yes.
It cost more than a dime, okay? They had to put it in the center.
Oh, life is so bad when you have to spend
Well, folks.
money on your wife. You're terrible.
Remember, I'm 25 and handsome. Okay, there we go. I have to keep that going once in a while, So
Oh, Rainey, you're so handsome.
I know. No, that was for Raluca. Folks, I hope you're not still watching this video. Okay, this can't be done.
Oh, yeah, we have quite a while to go yet, so be careful what you say.
And we're going to have all these people signing up thinking they just go 25 and handsome. It's not working for me. He got his wife and that guy Anthony after him. I know.
What started your writing books?
Well, let's see. I think the first book I started to write was the Hypnosis Manual. I was kind of tooling around with it. But the Everything Company actually contacted me. And they asked me if I would write the Everything Hypnosis book because they had 2 people, I believe they were doctors, that were writing it together, and they backed out at the last minute. And
Ouch.
yeah, and they have, these guys have contracts. They had already started the book, and it had to be out at a certain time. So they told me I had so many months to write it, and if I wanted, they'd pay me, there was no ongoing royalties. They would just pay me so much a lump sum if I wanted to do it. So I said, sure, this is a great one. But they had a lot of rules. If you're thinking of writing for a company like that, especially one of these, like the Everything or the Dummies or the Idiots, the ones that have like these big volumes of books, they have a lot of rules. So I started to write it. And now, since everything's copywritten, they don't want you to write the same titles and the same stuff that's elsewhere. So I had to come up with these really creative titles for simple things that you'd normally just call, let's say suggestibility tests, you have to call it something else. So a lot of things have to be worded differently. That's why when you look at these books like that, the Everything book, the titles don't really say what's in there. They're kind of creative titles. But anyways, I had to get, a quarter done every couple months, I think it was. Then the editing went back. Oh, the editing was unbelievable. Not so much the spelling, but we don't want you to say that. We don't believe that's really true. You say things about hypnosis, and they go, I don't believe that. You're going to have to find another way to reword that. So, towards the end, we had to put a foot down saying, look, we're the hypnotists. That is so. That's how it works. Look it up,
Actually, what we wanted to do was we wanted to publish the manual. The manual was already written, and we got this book. It's called How to Write a Book Proposal. I remember I was sitting there every day submitting to companies in New York and all over the place book proposals for the manual that we have. But no one wanted to publish it. We were getting no letters after Yazoo. Everybody, no, it's too complicated. It's too this, it's too that. It was unreal. No one wanted to do it. So we sent a book proposal to this literary agent, and she says, your book sounds interesting. And by the way, if you ever want to write a book, How to Write a Book Proposal book is amazing. It has everything you need to know how to submit a proposal for a book. And she says, well, I'm not interested in that book, but would you write another book? And that's how we got the deal for everything. Yeah. Because we wanted to to do the manual that we have now, but it's too technical. It's too this, it's too that. So no one wanted to.
The specialty book.
I didn't think it was.
But that's
technical.
Not technical, but it's a specialty,
Yeah, it's for these companies. They were saying, some of them were saying, it's funny because some of them were saying it's too technical, and then we had some of them who were saying there's too much fluff in it. I'm like, wow, that's complete opposite. But yeah, most literary agents that we submitted the proposal to, which was like you had to submit this proposal plus one chapter of the book, and they didn't want to do it. I feel like, Jack Canfield's story. He tried to do his book, Chicken Soup for the Soul, and for like years, no, we don't like it. No, we don't like it. Until he finally did it. It took years of hearing no. Actually, towards the end, the funny thing is, towards the end, we're like, okay, well, I guess that's not going to happen. And one day I was like, let me send 3 or 4 more proposals. And that lady wrote back that day.
Yeah.
That's called the never give up.
Yeah.
Never ever give up.
That's it.
Or there was a book out that had the title was it 4 Feet from Gold?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know of that one? Where the guy was tunneling
That's
and
actually
trying
one
to
of the
find gold for...
That's one of the chapters in Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was actually somebody came out with a book, or maybe it was his next book that they didn't bring out forever. But then there was a big debacle about this second book. But I think I think that's what they titled it. I could be wrong. Anybody out there listening, if I'm wrong, tell me where I'm wrong.
And anybody that does.
There you go.
But
since then, it's just been, writing books on different things. One day, Raluca, one of my favorite ones, Raluca and I were at a restaurant in not too far from here, a seafood restaurant. And I started thinking for a while, and it was quiet. And I looked at her. I said, I got an idea. I said, I want to write a book called How to Write, Publish, and Sell a Book in One Day. And I says, matter of fact, just to prove that we did it, I'm going to write, publish, and sell the book in that day and take the names of the people who bought the book in that day and publish it in the book. And we actually did it. It's one of the All Those Yellow Books are books that we wrote. I actually don't have one of those here, but
I gotta get that book.
Yeah, and it was kind of cool because, and I teach this a lot to people. I actually have a course on how to write a book, And matter of fact, that part of the teachings are in there. And what we did was we actually started selling it before it was even written. And it's kind of interesting to do, as long as you can make your sales page, you make your sales page of what you want to have in it. And making the sales page first is really great because a sales page has to look interesting. And when you make it look interesting, you're thinking, oh, that would be great to put in the book. You see what I mean? So it helps you to make your table of contents. So we made the sales page. I started making the table of contents. Then we put the sales page up, I think by noontime that day, and the sales started coming in. So by the time I finished the book, which was pretty close, it was like 11:30 at night, we had I think there's 27 or 28 people that had already purchased it. And their names are in the back of the book published as the ones that purchased it. And then we, put it out the next day. So it's pretty interesting. People think it's such a really hard thing. I mean, even in our course, I have 30 different ways or different types of books you can publish. You don't even need to write it. You can get people's information by interviewing them. And if I got information from the three of you, just asking you questions, and then just transcribe all that, there's a book without even having to write your own material, like a research book. So there's so many ways of doing it. But people just, the reason they don't write a book is they don't get started. You got to start. So by next week, I want to see each one of you having written a book.
A pamphlet.
Don't laugh. You may
Could
be
be a
in
short
for
one.
trouble.
Could be a short one. I actually wrote I can't remember the title of it, but it was a book about this size. Let's see my little Snoopy. But it was a book about this size, and it was actually a pocket book. It was like a guide that you can learn from, but have with you, to take notes. And so, but it was a little pocket book you could put right in your pocket. Matter of fact, the back cover, the design was actually like a blue jeans pocket. So I'll find that one and show it to you sometime. So any last words before we head out? Anthony?
That's
a good one.
I just thank you guys for showing up and and being here.
Yes.
And thanks for inviting me to do this thing with you guys. This has been fun so far, and hopefully it's just going to get better.
You got it.
I hope so too, and I really enjoy this, even though I have to get up early in the morning to join you.
Yeah.
You people who get to show up late in the day, late in the morning.
It's actually almost noon now. It's 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's almost 9
Almost
o'clock
11
here,
here.
not quite.
Time to go to
I'm
lunch.
the early bird. Oh, and I have to have breakfast.
Yeah, Anthony was telling me that he really wished we could come on earlier.
Right. Yeah.
You see how she went dead silent.
Yeah, I like how you set me up
It ain't
there.
gonna happen for me. I'm out and gone.
I don't want to get yelled at.
I have to get up early enough to be here on time for 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Don't punish me. No matter what you say to hypnotize me.
Some weeks she's going to come on, you'll have a big mask on, oh, I forgot to take it off.
No, but I forgot to finish my hair this morning.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it looks great.
Oh, thank you, Raluca.
Yeah,
Funny
Raluca
face
says
down
mine
there
looks
won't. Well, you have not much more than I do. Poor baby. Oh, well.
But anyways, I'd like to thank you all for coming, and we will see y'all next week.
Sounds great.
Look
Thanks,
forward
guys.
to it.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.